This is a really interesting question I get from students pretty often. Is this idea of should you care what other people think? And yeah, you should care, especially if that person is your boss, or if they're your customer, or your teacher, or whoever it is, or a fellow classmate, and you're working on a team project or something like that. Or, there could be any number of reasons why you should care. It depends on what we're talking about because empathy is important. In fact, you'll have antisocial personality disorder to a higher degree. They found there's a correlation where if the person lacks empathy, or especially early on in their formative years, especially before the age of 5. So the fact of caring about what other people think and respecting their feelings, their thoughts, feelings, and behavior in general, that could be important. Okay, I think what people are often saying is, well, what happens when I've actually had students ask this, and I've experienced this myself. You hold the door open for someone, 99% of the time they'll say thank you. And then you're not doing it to get that thank you, but you do want that courtesy. I mean, nobody asked you to hold the door. There's that social expectation, but you might care about, well, why didn't they say thank you if they didn't? There are other times where they don't, right? And that comes from they might have had other things on their mind. You don't know what's going on in people's minds about why they say something, or that person looked at me kind of funny. I had one student say, they told us about an example in class. I think that if you get very sensitive, and I remember Brian Tracy talking about this, the hypersensitivity is kind of linked to depression. So that is true to some degree. I think some people are anxious or they're very observant about what other people think, and so they tend to care a little too much. But I think, being aware and kind of seeing how effective you are can be helpful because then you start to realize, okay, I do want to know what kind of impression I'm giving. Goffman is a sociologist, was a sociologist, I should say, that talks about impression management, your public self and your private self, or we could even talk about Carl Jung's secret self. So I do think that the more you bring these into congruence, the more you kind of bring who you are and you kind of are happy with who you are and you're not hurting anybody, you're trying to be in alignment, then I think that you become freer to be who you are in situations and to acknowledge how you feel in those situations. Yet I do think that as you're kind of working through who you are and going through your stuff, you start to realize, okay, that I need to also allow other people to be the same way, to be the way that they are. You don't want people controlling who you are and being how, they have to dictate how you are. Yet, what's important is to kind of give people that same level of freedom. Now, that being said, let's jump back to the professional idea of what people think and how they should care or not care. Well, if you have a boss that asks you to do things in a particular way, you might want to do that because they're your boss. Francisco Bajan, the life coach, and he has a great website at vitalcoaching.com, and he's amazing. And if you go to his Facebook page, oh my goodness, it's amazing. He's traveling all over the world doing exciting things. He did the Burning Man. He did all these things. He almost doesn't. I don't think he cares about what some people think or don't think. He does strange stuff, on his Facebook, but he's an amazing kind of adventurer and life coach. And one of the things that he says, and he was very influential, especially I subscribed and I listened to a lot of his videos and watched a lot of his videos, listened to a lot of his audio programs. And one of the things he talks about a lot of issues, but one of the things he said is that when you work for a company, you're surrendering a little bit of power to that company, and that's correct. And I talk about this in career development. I taught this for many years, this course at different colleges and universities. They own you to some degree. Now, that being said, you do have the right to be, treating yourself and others with dignity and respect, so you don't have to um, be abused. Nobody's asking you to be abused, yet at the same time, you want to care about what kind of job you're doing and how people are perceiving what you're doing. I think this is so important. I found that in helping me get to higher and higher levels, and I'm sure you found this in whatever you're doing, that you do want to have that idea of um, getting more effective, caring what people think. And I'll give you an example. I teach for a university where I have a lot of military students, and it's more like one-on-one, and they'll have small classes at times, and I'm designing 5 courses for them. And one is already done, and we actually, they were going through an auditing process, and I'll admit that I need help because some of it gets very complex. So out of my own money, I hired a project manager who used to work at Procter and Gamble, and she's amazing. So we actually are going through, and we finished one, and it already got approved. And it actually, there were some revisions that were necessary. It finally got approved. There's 4 more. So I do care what people think, and my bosses especially. There's a team, and then I totally am open with them on the communication and what I'm doing. I did seek, well, could there be reimbursement? There can't be. And they're expecting you to do the job, but they're pretty nice about the fact that they allowed me to hire a project manager to let me complete the tasks. And what I found, and I've learned this from Brian Tracy and other people, and I actually interviewed Brian Tracy at an event about this, and I might have hit on this in another video, and he's a famous motivational speaker, as you might know. One thing I found out was that he actually hires people to do the parts that he needs help with, and while he's traveling and speaking. So he'll have his administrator send his products to the event. So I think that streamlining and segmenting what you need to have help with helps. Then, because it helps with the overall, going back to Goffman's idea of impression management, it really helps. Because if you get people that are more effective in a particular area, then you can learn from them as they're helping you. It helps you to get the job done, and you can be more effective overall. And so work on your strengths, get help with your weaknesses. And I'm admitting, I could do it myself, yet I need help with somebody that's a little better in that area with the Excel spreadsheets and going through more of the administrative tasks. And what I find is that it's releasing the emergency brake, and it's allowing you to move forward. And then that way you're using your talents in the best ways that you can, allowing other people to have a better impression of you because you're effective in getting things done. So I think in that sense, in the work situation, it's a little different than in the social situation. And so I did want to share thoughts on that. Thank you so much.